Powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope you're enjoying the fact that the weekend is among us and there's so much incredible things happening. And I hope there's light in your life and the sun is shining and the birds are singing and the wind is at your back. I got an incredible show for you today. The one and only Jenna Longmire, priestess guide, divine feminine mentor, singer songwriter, world traveler, lover of life's mysteries. Jenna, thank you for being here today. How are you?
Thank you, George. I am doing really well. I am just that wave on the background of your profile. I just feel like riding the waves. I'm getting better at surfing, if you know what I mean, energetically. But I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. I'm really glad you're here. You have so much exciting stuff going on. Whenever I tune into the Jenna Longmire show, I see you these traveling around the world and new music being born and helping all these people and stuff. But you know what? Maybe before we get started, we could start off with like a little ceremony or something you want to share. Maybe we could do that. I think that'd be an awesome thing for me and you and all the listeners and to start our weekend. Would you be okay to do that with us?
I would love to. I would love to. I've been kind of doing this sort of energetic centering and grounding with everyone, kind of to just set the energy, because it feels like it's important right now to stay centered. So I would love to do that with
Okay.
you, George.
All right.
Let's drop in. If you want to close your eyes or just kind of soften your gaze and look down, and anybody listening can join us here in just connecting with your breath, because when we're in our heads talking and just doing things, it's just so easy to get out of our body. So let's just take a moment to really breathe. Let out a couple exhales through your mouth. And feel your energy settling in, settling down. And I like to think about just, first of all, clearing any energy that's not mine, because as a sensitive empath, I tend to pick up a lot of stuff. So let's just send away any energy from the day, from the week that just we don't need. It's just kind of hanging on us. Let it drop, let it fall away. Any energy kind of attached to you, just return it to its source and send it home. And we're just gonna be just our energy, our guides, those supporting us in the higher realms. We're just going to be with us and them right now. And then call your energy back. So any energy that you may have scattered about through time and space and dimensions that just really needs to be with you in your body, let's call all of that energy to come back to you, and imagine it accumulating and nicely aligning through the central channel of your body that runs up and down the spine and through your chakras and energy centers. So this is an exercise I do all the time to just align my energy through my midline of my body and through the center. And then I like to drop a grounding, stabilizing root or anchor, whatever works for you, whatever visual, but just really extend like a tail down from your tailbone down into the earth, just wiggling its way all the way through, down through the layers until you feel nice and rooted. I sometimes go all the way to the very core center when I really need to feel super grounded. And then that just creates a beautiful way to then let your energy rise and move up. And if you haven't already felt that heavenly cosmic energy, whatever you think of it being, coming in through the top of your head, go ahead and let that energy connect with your body and bringing that column of light through your being, connecting you to heaven and earth. Just feeling that rootedness in both directions. Um, and then remembering your heart center. It's always like to land there and end our grounding in the heart. So I think about us being in the middle world here. And our hearts are our connector, our bridge between the physical and the spiritual. And so go ahead and wrap up how you would like. If you want to send that earth energy down and up and bring that cosmic energy down, and we'll end up in our hearts as we'll move on with our conversation. Just slowly returning. I could stay there all day personally.
Yeah, very relaxing. I like it. I feel ready. I'm nice and grounded. I like the idea with the tail going into the ground and going deep and putting you in a position where you're stable.
Yeah, it's hard to feel stable right now. So
Yeah.
I'm pulling out all the tools and sharing. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm stoked to do it. It's so cool to have people that you can do exercises with this like that maybe might be feeling a certain way or getting certain downloads or messages or just being somewhere in their life that feels a little chaotic. Is it just me or is life a little bit chaotic right now, Jenna?
Yes, I feel like so many of us are in this very
Yeah.
liminal. I feel the same way. I just feel like things could change at a drop of a hat,
Yeah.
and all I have to hold on to is the present moment and like my breath, and that's why I do this a lot and
Yeah.
just stay in the moment. I don't know what I don't know, you know.
Right. There's a big lesson with uncertainty that I think people are learning, and there's a lot of things you can't control. And when you try to control them, when you try to hang on to things, it just it doesn't work so well. It forces you to either move into a form of depression or a form of anxiety. But when you're in the moment, there's no problem. There's nothing that's really pressing on you right now at this moment. And so you can enjoy your whole life in this moment and just kind of be with it. But it sounds like you've been doing that a lot. Like I was seeing some pictures of you in Egypt. What's going on with that? What are you doing over there?
Yes, I went to Egypt with a group of 9 women, very priestessy
Yeah.
women, very divine feminine, that had never met together as a group, but one woman called us all in, and she, knew us or knew of us, and was called to invite us to go on this trip. So it was very much like a priestess pilgrimage adventure in
Yeah.
Egypt. And a couple people live there, or located. That's where their base is. And then a couple of the women had been there before, so it felt really safe. And we were just all about the spiritual mysteries and taking in all of ancient Egypt that we could, in 2 weeks.
Yeah. What was that like? Like I've never been there, but it does seem to, whether you're looking at the pictures or you're reading something about it, like there is this incredible mystic presence there. Did you feel it when you went there? Or maybe you could tell about it. What it was like when you first got there.
Yeah, it felt very welcoming. I mean, even though it was a very intense, Cairo is an
Yeah.
enormous city, and a lot of energy. I felt a real soft, welcoming energy about it, and it was so foreign to me, just such a different environment. I felt so present the entire time, and I think, like
Yeah.
we were just talking about being in the moment, I think that was one of the gifts, was just, everything being so new and wanting to take it all in. I felt, so present, and so arriving felt very magical. I felt very, I always feel really interdimensional though when I travel, but this was
Yeah.
like, top as far as, feeling very interdimensional, multidimensional, being in such a old, just that the ancient, it took a while to sink in that this, like, I'm actually here. This is not a photograph, of the
Right.
Sphinx or the pyramids. So yeah, it was very mysterious. And I can see why people get obsessed and want to go back all the time. It's a very intense vortex of Earth portals.
It is interesting. Like, I didn't match up to what you thought. Like, that was your first time there?
Yeah, yeah.
Did it match up? Because I know that, at least for me, I was brought up and I saw these pictures, and you're often reminded of the history behind it, and all, you have all these ideas that were put on you. But when you go there, it's like, for the first time, you get to make your own opinion and your own decision and your own discerning about it. Did it match up, or was it greater, or what was it like to match up those two things?
It was greater than what I thought. I didn't have a lot of
Hmm.
expectations really going into it. Um, but I think what made it so special was probably um, the intentionality behind
Right.
it,
Right.
because it was, I mean, I'm sure it'd be great to just do kind of a regular tour, with an Egyptologist. But I think the fact that we were all there, probably following some kind of, spiritual connection, past life connection, all identifying to some level with, the priestess path. So that made it just very magical, in the sense that I felt like there was a lot of giving and receiving of energy that went on when we were visiting these different temples, just a lot of give and take. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's going to be the medicine, right? The medicine right now is connecting with, because what I felt from it was, and I was tapping into it today because I don't want to lose it,
Right.
this feeling of like, what the ancients, you're figuring 4,000 or so years ago, what the ancient Egyptians, what it felt like to be them, and what their energy was like, and a little bit about their culture and their netter and neteru, their nature gods and goddesses, and just feeling into such ancient different culture gave me hope. It was like, okay, we've really gone astray. Not to romanticize that really,
Yeah.
because I mean they had their issues,
Sure.
but um, just that it gave me this very big perspective, which I kind of always have,
Hmm.
studying the divine feminine. We know that goes back to 20,000 years ago when they found the Venus of Willendorf figurine. So we know humanity has been around a lot longer than we have recording of, other than these artifacts, right? So it put me in touch with that, like, ancient hope that,
Mm.
like, maybe we're at this turning point where we can go, in a new, in our new form, whatever that is, remember what we forgot. Can the amnesia go away and we can
Yeah.
remember, oh, we're abundant, we're divine beings.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like for so long we've had this sort of limiting conditioning put on us. And I can only speak for the schools in which I was brought up and the life that I have lived so far, but it seems to me that as a young kid, you kind of have your creativity conditioned out of you. It's like, hey, go to school. You can be one of these 15 cutouts right here, and once you go here, then you can pay all this money and go to this other school. And then once you get out of that school, you'll be in debt just long enough where you can become a slave and then maybe pay off your debt. And then maybe, if you're really lucky, you can make it to 65 and have 5 or 7 years before you die. Like somehow that in the West has become the way of life. And when you start traveling around the world and you are re-invited into a cultural tapestry that shows you, wow, this thing's been going on for a long time. Maybe there's a lot more than this conditioning that's been sprung upon me. Maybe there's a big world out there. And maybe if I start exploring it, maybe I will find the divine spark in me that can light the flame in the other people. And boom, there you go. Next thing you know, you're in Egypt inside a pyramid making a song.
That's how it
Right?
is.
Yeah. You did some Did you do some recording over there? Like I saw some videos of you, like with the mic. Was the creativity inspired over there? Was there some shooting over there? What was going on?
There's definitely creativity inspired that I feel is just starting to download.
Yeah.
No, there was no recording, but there was, we were playing around with sound some, but no recording over there. We were pretty busy going
Yeah.
into these temples, but I think the downloads from it will just be,
Sure.
yeah, it'll be fun. No, the recording, I was hoping to get it wrapped up on the new song before I left, but we wrapped it up, ended up, wrapping it up here and just went out today. So
Congratulations. It's
yeah.
interesting to me to think about some of the sound therapy that's been happening in the world. And especially, I've recently spoke to some people that were going to Egypt to work on some sound healing techniques. And I don't really believe in coincidence. And it seems interesting to me that there's all this sound therapy going on. There's an incredible area right there in Egypt that allows people to maybe heal through sound. And here you are being inspired by the sound. I got to think that maybe that makes your song, this album that you're putting out, this single, have some sound therapy in it. Is that the kind of the mission behind it, or what?
Oh, I totally believe that. And you're right. I definitely got, I think, some sound healing
Yeah.
activations while I was there, in the temple of Hathor, who was the goddess. She was a mother goddess of music, dance. When we were in her temple in particular, I believe that in ancient Egypt, they had very highly evolved sound technologies that we might be able to remember and download and access now, perhaps. I mean, there's people doing that work like Tom Kenyon. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a sound healer and channeler, author, musician guy. Him and his wife, Judy Sion, talk about the Hathors a lot. But yes, oh my gosh, I believe music and sound is really one of the best ways to heal and probably be really evolved in the future.
Do you think that that's played a big role, like the sound and the fact that you have found a way to channel your music for other people to listen to? How has that affected your growth, do you think?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
How has that affected my growth? I think opening up my mouth and speaking and voicing did not come easily for me. I was one of the quiet ones in the corner for a long time. And then with the music coming in more later in life, the performing, that definitely empowered it. Just something shifted, right? I opened something up because when we're in a culture, like you said, where you have to stay in these little boxes, and I think particularly for women, we tend to, sit back and just kind of let the dominant personalities, I mean, maybe not even just women, but just people that tend to be more introverted, let the dominant personalities take over. So it definitely has been a process of like, oh, wow, yeah, I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
So
I think that it's that kind of story that we see in the mythical text. Whether you're reading a historian like Joseph Campbell, or you're reading the Iliad and the Odyssey, or you're looking at any sort of mythology, it's interesting that what you say right now about yourself kind of follows that mythology. Well, here's this individual who has felt like they were in this box, and then they are inspired and they open themselves to inspiration. They open themselves to the spirit. They open themselves to something bigger than them. And sooner or later, that thing fills them and it begins pouring out and helping other people. It's such a wonderful thing. I'm so glad you shared it. And what let's talk about this new song for a minute. Like what's the name of it? What's the inspiration behind it? And how does it make you feel when you sing it?
Well, the name is Change Me.
Imagine that.
Because I'm a work in progress, and we all are.
Yeah.
And it's rapid. So I wrote this in prayer. I was kind of having one of those moments, like I talk about, please show me the way. This is feeling really chaotic. I don't know what's coming. It's scary to step into something that has not traditionally ever made me money. It's like, so how am I going to live? All those things. But yeah, I think this was a song that just through the praying, it was just like, oh, okay, here's what's coming through. And it just came through pretty quickly. And I realized it was really, calling us all together, calling the ancestors for support, reminding us that we are divine beings, that we've forgotten. We have all this power, and let's help each other remember. So I actually, feel like they're medicine songs in that way,
Yeah, therapeutic for sure.
Yeah.
It seems to me that there's a certain sort of authenticity and there's a certain sort of resonance and there's a certain style that is able to radiate through the world like a stone thrown into a calm pond of water, and that ripples just move outwards. And I think that is inspired by someone willing to take a chance and willing to wrestle with uncertainty and willing to do what you're doing. Like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I believe with all my heart that it will work. And so I'm going to do it. And I think, Jenna, that is what resonates through your music. And when I talk to you, like, I get goosebumps thinking about people that do that. Thank you for doing that. How does it make you feel when you do that?
I teeter between the two worlds, and I'm leaning more towards, this is really freaking exciting. Like, I don't know where this is going. The mystery is so fascinating, and my little brain can't even fathom, right? And then I go into fear sometimes.
Of course.
Like, what am I doing? That's becoming less, luckily.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's necessary though, right? Like, you have to be able to sit with that fear in order to live that excitement. And I think it's sometimes like, it's like I got calluses on my hands. I used to have a lot more because I was outside doing a lot more stuff, but you begin to build this tolerance, whether it's through whether it's in life, you build a tolerance for something. And for so long, because we've been in these boxes, we don't have a real strong tolerance to uncertainty. But when you come on and you tell your story, but beyond that, when you come on and you sing your story, Jenna, you sing your story to people, like, that's so inspiring. And I understand sitting with fear. And I think a lot of people that have come on my podcast and a lot of people that have found their way in life have found a way to make friends with the monster, if that makes sense. The fear is the monster under your bed, it's the voice in your head. But like, if you can make friends with it, then you realize, hey, this monster is pretty powerful, but he's my friend, and we can work together on this thing, or she's my friend and we can work together on this thing. It's about relationships, I think, on some level. I love that you're so honest and authentic about it. What techniques do you use when you find yourself moving into that world of uncertainty?
Great question. Yes, you do have to sit with it a while, and we don't like to do that. Like to distract. But what I do is I call that out as, this is programming. I don't have to buy into this. I see this as for what it is. And I try to shift over to divine guidance. So I just immediately go, okay, divine, what do you got to say? Let's hear the other side, And that's usually like, you're fine. You're doing great. Stay in the moment, keep following your heart, all the things that I try to do. And so it's when the programming voice gets really loud that it's maybe hard to tap into the divine guidance. But that's what I'm really cultivating, so that when we come together like this, if one person is tapped into that, we can just all kind of entrain, literally. I mean, if we're close enough to that level of vibration, we can just kind of help each other come in. Which is why I think, live music, when we're all together watching music together, or we're in a gathering circle, spiritual gathering or something, that's why we kind of need more of that, probably, so we can get elevated.
Yeah, I love that term, elevated. And I think you're right. There's something to be said about us coming together in a ceremony, or just being in each other's presence and having the felt presence of the other. And sometimes it's more than words, like just being there and sharing with people, like you're willing to come out, or, if you, hey, here's how I'm dealing with this, or here's how I'm dealing with that. Like that can inspire someone on a level that you may never know. And I think that that's worth it. I think everybody at some point is going to go through what you're going through, what I'm going through, what all these other people are going through. And on some level, it's very difficult to put yourself out there because it's very vulnerable. Like, I could fail at this right now. I could lose my house. I could lose everything. But the truth is, you can always lose everything. And if you put it out there, you inspire other people to take that chance. And maybe what you're saying today, maybe the song that you sing, or when someone goes and they download the song and they're inspired by it, maybe that's the divine guidance they call in when they're feeling fear. So everything we're doing is manifesting help for other people. And you're setting an example right now. And all of us should be holding ourselves to the highest standard possible for us, not for other people, but for us. That's going to raise the entire frequency for everyone, I think. Would you agree with that?
I do. And that's why I say change has to start with yourself.
Yep.
We tend to want to go out there and fix everything in our
Yep.
environment first. And that's just what we do. But if we would just go inward, and do that, just get quiet. And I'm, that's why, like, I've paid people for years to sit down with me and get me to do this. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. What do you do because you are a mentor, and people come to you all the time with their ideas and their fears and their things they're excited about. Have you noticed a trend recently? You don't have to talk about the specific people coming your way, but have you noticed a certain trend lately that has been happening in 2024? Or what's your take on this energy and this world we're moving into, and what's happening in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, in my community, which is, kind of a niche, right?
Yeah.
It's women on this divine feminine, and embodiment is a really big piece of that.
Okay.
So I would say in my community right now, there's a big focus on, we've got to take care of our bodies, because we see everyone, you see people, a lot of people getting sick, people leaving this world, and a lot, and mental illness is just rampant. And so self-care and just listening to the body, whatever it takes to kind of fight that urge to be out of our bodies. Because I know, I spent years kind of living out of it. And it's why you teach what you need to learn, right? You teach like, I need to know this for myself. And so I would say a big focus on taking care of our bodies and opening that divine channel, because this is very opposite of the culture. The culture tells us to, work ourselves into the ground and listen to what the news is telling us.
Yeah.
Or some outside authority, telling.
Right.
And so the big movement here is listen to yourself, take care of your body, don't push past, what you feel like your limits are, because that's when we start to get sick. It's very hard to do. I mean, I had to get sick and have horrible things happen to get my attention. So it's like,
it's interesting on some level how people become in relationship to what is possible in their body, and this abstract form of communication. It seems abstract, but this form of communication between nature in yourself. Like it's always talking to you. And if you're not listening to it, that's when you see these problems arise in your life, whether it's maybe people are going through divorces, or they're going through very difficult times financially, or they're going through these things. I think on some level they're out of balance. They're not listening to the world around them. And I'm not saying there's an easy fix just by quieting your mind and watching nature, but if you begin practicing awareness, I think you can begin to change the relationships that are in trouble in your life. But it like you said, it's about knowing the body, and we can look at the earth as a body. So is the earth, so is our body. But is that a practice you use too, by looking at nature and trying to incorporate some facts from outside the world and put it in your world? Like what do you do when you talk about the body? Where do you get the information from?
No, I think, yes, definitely, seeing the body
Yeah,
as like a mirror, sort
love
of,
it. Yep.
Earth body. I mean, that is definitely part of the divine feminine, right? The
Yeah.
Mother Earth, women being sort of the more embodied uh, of that yin and yang, right? But I definitely connect with nature and earth. And when I'm the most ungrounded, that's I just got to get outside and get
Yeah.
my feet on the ground. But I use a lot of just somatic, just different somatic techniques, like what we did in the beginning,
Right.
just tuning into the breath. And then my thing lately has been, just this energetic empowerment idea, and developing tools for people to be more embodied. But the trick is, we don't feel real safe a lot of times to be
Yep.
embodied. It's like we want to kind of hide a little bit, or um,
Yep.
maybe you've been traumatized
Yep.
in your body in lots of different ways, so being in it just doesn't feel real comfortable. So that's where the more healing therapeutic work I do comes in, of helping people clear what is in the way of them feeling like they can be safe in their body. So I've gotten to the point now where I can kind of go in and just kind of see what's in my body, notice it, breathe in with it, and it will pass. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing. It sucks in the moment, if it's not a pleasant feeling,
Yep.
but it will pass in relatively short time, um, unless you're having I have to caveat that and say, I've had some pretty big emotional clearings that were, not that easy, but
Yeah.
that's a little different. That's when we're kind of doing those big purges and stuff, which I know people are doing, and I believe that helps them, because I feel so much more grounded after I have a big cry or something.
Yeah.
Whoo, yeah, thank you for unloading all that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to hear the way in which people have found techniques that help them move past traumas. And it's on some level, I feel both disheartened and excited. I feel disheartened because so many people have gone through traumas in their life. When you say they don't feel good, or they hide in their own body, to me that sounds like something horrible happened to them that they never got to clear out of their body. They never had closure on. Maybe something happened to them with an adult when they were young, and that person died, or the family just chose not to acknowledge it, or the person that it happened to was not in a state where they could acknowledge it. That stays with you forever until you figure out a way to deal with it. And if you don't figure out a way to deal with it, then it will plague you. It will be the monster under the bed. But so many of us have had instances where we felt violated and we never figured out how to solve it, and it's time for us to do that. And it comes down to the individual, because no one else is going to come solve it for you. And I think that these things manifesting in our life, whether it's a disease, dis-ease, or it is these other things, relationships, like these are barometers, these are lessons, or these are the voices trying to point out to us, hey, there's something wrong that happened to you. Please address it, and then this thing will get better. Right? But when you said there's people clearing stuff on their body, it makes me feel disheartened, but it also makes me feel excited about it. Wait, how do you feel about when you see that happening? And what's your take on that?
Oh, I think it's a lot easier to do now.
Yes.
I think we're energetically supported so much more.
Yep.
My sessions are like so different. Like, I mean, they just keep getting more and more like amazing where so much happens because we have so much more support. So I feel encouraged, even though it does feel more intense.
Yeah.
You know, like if you follow Eckhart Tolle, he talks about the pain
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
and that's helpful to just kind of think about. That's not who we are. That's just something we work with and move through,
Yeah.
and the energy is constantly moving. I mean, we can try to stop it and like kind of clench up, but that's going to create problems. So I feel very hopeful that more of us are going to get really good at this, and we're going to be able to help other people to do it. Because that's what I really try to do, is help people to be empowered. Like, I'll teach you how to do this, and then you're going to be able to do this on your own for the most part. And then when we get stuck, we reach out for help. But this is stuff we can learn to do on our own.
Yeah. Have you thought about writing a book?
Yep.
You should write one.
A couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could incorporate some of the lyrics in your song into the book. Like, because it seems like a lot of the songs that you write have like a story behind them. I think it would be amazing. What would be the title of your book if you were going to write one?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe Change Me. I mean, this song feels sort of pivotal for
Yeah.
me. And I have thought about writing sort of so a lot of people do this, like kind
Yeah.
of self-help / memoir
Hmm.
/ song poetry, whatever
Yeah.
your thing is. Because I do think the songs weave the story in there of just how we grow. And I mean, it's autobiographical in a sense,
Of
but it's
course.
but it's relatable, hopefully, for everyone, because we're using metaphor and
Mhm.
story we can all connect to.
What's your writing process like? Like when you write music, do you have like a place that you go, or is there like a certain set of candles that you light, or like is there incense? Like what is your writing process like? Everybody has their own magic. I'm curious what yours is.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, sometimes I'll get an idea and I have, like, a note in my phone that's
Hmm.
song ideas, and so I'll just, like, type it in there, and, I may not I may never look at it again. I might go
Yeah.
back. So, if I don't have time right then to sit down, but then when I sit down, I typically just go in my studio, and, I've got different, the piano, the guitar, whatever, rattle, drum, just kind of see. I usually kind of have got an idea I want to work on, and then I just kind of follow the guidance. Maybe I'll start on this instrument. Maybe I'll move over to this one. Just start. Sometimes it'll come with just start writing lyrics. Sometimes it will start with just playing something musically. But usually I'll get like a lyrical idea or a song idea, like I want to write about this topic. And then Change Me just came like I am desperate here. Help me.
Yeah.
Come tell me what's going on.
It's so interesting. I'm always so curious about a person's relationship with creativity. I think most people that get into the flow state, I recently spoke with Susan Brown, who is a really interesting creator and a visionary in the idea of the flow state. And she's created this new technology where they're actually monitoring, they're finding ways to measure the heart coherence that can tell you when you're in the flow state. It'd be perfect for everybody listening right now. You should check out Susan Brown. It's called Token of Me, and it measures your flow state. It's really wonderful. People should check it out. But it speaks to this idea that you and I were talking about when you build this relationship with creativity, like you are channeling something. And when you go in, and whether you find an instrument, it's like you're having this flirtatious sort of encounter with a greater part of you, or something you're really attracted to. And everybody knows the thing that you're attracted to is attracted to you. The thing you're seeking is seeking you. So it's like you're in this room and you're having this relationship with this beautiful force, and you're trying to work together to build this thing. And I love asking people this because I think when people get to hear what you do, it invites them to begin on their relationship with this beautiful idea of creativity and stuff. And how long does it some people say in the creative process, sometimes it works right away, sometimes it takes days or months, or I have to struggle more often. Have you noticed in your relationship with creativity that there's a pattern in there? Or
Yeah, I think when I'm really feeling it, it usually flows. Sometimes it's just like, you have to do this now,
Yeah.
but other times, I'm not real good at like being real disciplined, like write every
Yeah.
day for 15 minutes. And I'm just not that
I
person.
can't
I
do that
can't
either.
feel it. But there are times when it's a struggle, like I'll get part of a song, and then it's just like, or part of a piece of writing,
Yeah.
blog, and then I have to go away. I just have to
Mhm.
leave it alone and let it percolate, and then I come back, because then I'm starting to push, and it just kind of isn't flowing. So I'll definitely check out the flow state, because that would be helpful. And then Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert's another good one.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah. That's more about the creative muse coming in, and basically sitting down and listening is what we're kind of talking about a lot with a lot of this, is getting still, listening, being patient. Doesn't always come immediately.
Mhm.
Sometimes I got to sit there and just kind of, doesn't look like I'm doing a whole lot. Just like I'm just sitting there.
Yeah. I do it all the time. Like sometimes I'll just be like, and then my kid will be like, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad." I'm like, what? It's like, you're talking to yourself, Dad. What are you doing? I'm like, I am. She goes, yeah, for like the last 15 minutes over there mumbling. I'm like, oh. She's like, what are you talking about? So then, but it always starts this cool dialogue between us, and then I tell her stuff like, "Do you think that's weird?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You do it too." Oh, no, I don't. And so it always starts like this cool conversation, and it's interesting how contemplation and it's what I think is also beautiful about that situation, if I may just continue this for a moment, is that I'll be in this state where I'm trying to think of something, and then like, oh my god, it's just not there. I'm thinking deep, 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 and then my daughter and my wife, the love of my life, my daughter or my wife will come in and they'll start talking to me, and then I realize that's what I should be doing right now, is like this, here comes my daughter or my wife, and this is what I should be doing right now. And it's just interesting to see the way the world is willing to work with you if you are willing to sit down and listen. And sometimes it takes that moment of checking out of everything around you to have something be invited into you. You know what? What do you think about this concept? This idea of letting go of things in order to grow. Like, have you noticed that the more stuff you let go of, the more creativity kind of is allowed to flow in?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I wanna let go more. Like, I'm
Yeah.
on a roll now of letting go. It's sort of like, "Oh, is this what happens when you let
Hmm.
go? It actually creates all this space." Like, "Whoa, I wanna keep doing this."
Yeah. Yeah. You can't have anything new if there's no room to grow. And when you start, for me, I looked around my house and I had all this stuff. Like, I love books, and my wife's, "You gotta get rid of some of these books." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Get rid of this book." And I'm like, "That book's a first edition. We can't get rid of that." Then I started thinking, like, how ridiculous is that? I've already read that book like 3 times. How many more times am I going to read it? And then I thought, what am I just going to throw it away? And then this other thought hit me like, no, take that book. It's a first edition and give it to someone that would like it and tell them it's a first edition. Like, now I get to feel good about giving it away. And then I gave away a bunch of books and some other stuff. And now all of a sudden my bookshelf was half empty and I felt like I had room to put stuff up there. But it was just a metaphor for like, I got to let stuff go in my life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a grudge, but you let those go. And now you have room for more things to grow into on some level. Have you know, like, can you give me an example where you've done that in your life?
Oh, I think I'm about to do it, George. I think
Yeah. Me too.
I've been in my house 8 years,
Okay.
and, it's time for a really big overhaul.
Mhm.
And, I'm really on this travel kick now. I
Yeah.
wanna do more traveling. So, yeah, I'm thinking about, clearing out some space in my house so that, if I need to rent it out and go travel or, just kind of, I just want to be ready, I just go, maybe I don't know. I just feel like I want to lighten the load, and I don't know exactly why, but I feel like I need to follow that lead in doing so. And I did lighten the load as far as letting go of having an in-person practice, and that was a big load to lighten. And now I'm kind of ready to do my house.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like a pattern developing. Like you let that go. And then here's this next thing. Your house, I'm sure you love it, but imagine what came out of your trip to Egypt. Imagine the creativity that came out of it. What if you did rent it out? And then all of a sudden, hey, George, I'm going to be in Amsterdam. I want to do a show in Amsterdam with me. Hey, George, I'm going to be in Tokyo. Hey, George, I'm going to be in Australia. Like, do you have any idea how much more reach your music could have if you just went out and began like the Jenna Longmire tour? You know what I mean? Like it would reach so much more people and they'd be inspired and like it would have its own gravity. And I think that's what the world's calling you to do on some level. That's what it sounds like to me.
Does to me too. I know. Like, wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what freeing yourself up in these ways that we didn't know we were going to do. And just how quickly we're being moved along. Because I talk about letting go all the time,
right,
in terms of shedding layers of programming, trauma,
yep.
old identities that really we've outgrown. I mean, there's so many intangible, like besides the stuff, there's all the ways, like, energetically that we unburden ourselves. Like, oh, I've been carrying this for my family for all, for how
Yes.
many generations. I don't think I need to do that.
Yep. That's a huge one. I see so many people, and maybe it's just our generation, or maybe it's just time on planet Earth for these next people to stop carrying the weight of the generation before them. Maybe we should give some thanks to the people that came before us for carrying all that weight for so long. And in some ways, that pushed us to not carry it anymore. Seeing the pain of your parents that sometimes can manifest itself through misplaced anger. You look at it, what? Maybe we should be thankful for that. They carried that load so that we don't have to. And we see it. You can begin to see it that way if you just take moments to look back and go, wow, that was just some misplaced anger. They didn't know any better. And they're doing this now. And like, I'm really thankful that I was forced to live this way because now I can let go. Now I can be the one that frees the family from the burden. And like, call it the prodigal son, call it the hero's journey, call it whatever you want to, but just start walking down that path, right?
Oh my God. You just basically talked about what the fourth verse of the song is about.
Let's hear it. Can you say it? Let's hear it.
Here's to the ones who gave up their dreams, fighting their way to tighten the seams. So they're holding it up, right?
Yeah.
We're circling up. We're holding the gates. What's to destroy? It's time to create.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Right? Yeah.
I think we're on the same, like, this is what happens, like in the flow state, like you and I, and probably everybody listening to this on some level is identifying with what's happening because it's bigger than us. That's the message that needs to be out right now, whether you say it in the wonderfully poetic verse that you used, or whether someone says it to their family, like that is the message that is resonating and we're singing it together in harmony. And that's what's changing the world, I think. It's beautiful, right?
It really is. It really is. I'm just seeing these glimpses. It is very exciting. For sure.
It is. And I think it speaks. This is a perfect example of what we spoke about earlier in the conversation, where like you oscillate between this creativity and fear. But like right now, like what are the chances of me coming up with a very close analogy to the poetic verse that you sung in verse 4? Like that's not a coincidence. Like that is something bigger than all of us. And that is what helps all of us get out of the fear. Just get out of your own way. The fear is your own negative thoughts of like, it's not going to happen. Yeah, it will happen. The only reason it's not happening because you're thinking about it not happening. Just move, just create it. Whatever is calling to you, whatever your heart is telling you to do, begin doing it. And the fear won't be able to catch up to you if you just stay in that zone, I think. I want more people to do it, Jen. I want more people to have beautiful poetry and turn it into music like you do.
Me too. Me too. It's going to catch on. I really
Yeah.
feel like it will. The more, like you say, the more of us that do it, we set that tone, and more people can kind of fall in. And
Yeah.
yeah, we just help each other get there, right? We're all
That's
just,
it.
yeah.
Each one teach one.
And I call that the field.
Okay.
How we were tapping into the same field, because I've been tapping into your field ever
Yeah.
since scheduled this. Like, okay, I'm just kind of feeling into what's happening here. So when we come together, we're going to get the same, we're going to get very similar information. Like, and
Yeah.
you see everybody's kind of like on the same track now.
Yep.
We're all talking about change and like,
Yeah.
and it's cool because I wrote this song like a little over a year ago. But that often happens because I'll get a precognition
Yep.
song and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, this is about to happen now. So
It's so amazing you said that. Like I was just thinking last night, like I had got some interesting, whether it's precognition or downloads. I hear everyone speaking about the same thing, but just using different terminology. Like this is real. Like we are evolving in real time, and people are getting precognition. People are getting downloads. People are listening to the world that's talking to them. The logos has returned. Life is about to become unbelievably better for so many people. And that's why there's so much negativity just trying to scream at us. But we're slowly no longer listening to that. And the world is slowly emerging into this place that is becoming so beautiful. You are like almost everybody I've talked to on my podcast has told me something similar. Like, oh, I had this thought, or I got this download, or I had this precog idea and I transformed it. Like that's a real thing happening in real time, right?
yep.
That's so awesome to me.
I know, it really is.
What were you doing when it happened to you? Like, I mean, I'm sure it probably happened multiple times, but can you recall where you were or what you were doing when that song came to you?
Yeah, I was preparing for an autumn equinox circle, and we were talking about snake goddess medicine from the Minoan Cretan ancient civilization.
Mhm.
And there's kind of I was just kind of going to teach them about that and talk about the snake shedding the skins, and and then you kind of have this raw little baby skin under there, and some of us kind of feel that way right now, like we are just sort of not quite out of the chrysalis yet or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was when I felt like, oh yeah, when you shed all those layers, it feels kind of vulnerable and like, who am I? So that's when that song came to me, like, oh, change me, show me, like, what is it going to look like?
I love them. Yeah. The metaphor of the snake, like the snake has to crawl out into the open area where it's totally vulnerable so it can like scratch off the old skin on the rocky ground. It can't do it in the leaves and the safety of the jungle. It has to go out there where it's open, where all the birds and the predators are, and like it's just such a beautiful metaphor. And then my daughter is the year of the snake in the Chinese calendar. So I used to work in Manoa Valley, when I just hear the same language, even though it's not the same culture, like just to hear those same words is like, it just resonates on a different level. That's so powerful to me. And I think it's wonderful. Jenna, we've already this is what happens when you sit down with people and you have a conversation. It just is heartwarming. It blows by and the hour is already gone. It's just like that, so fast. Before I let you go, though, what do you have coming up? Where can people find you? What are you excited about? Has the song dropped? Where can they go check it out? Where can they buy it? What's going on? Give me some lowdown there.
Sure. Yes, the song was live on all platforms. You're able to download it or stream it, depending on where you get your music from. So yeah, it's out there, and it's did a lyric video, which is on YouTube on both my channels, the music one and the Tree of Life Priestess Temple, and everything's on my website now, jennalongmire.com. I've got a music page on there, and then my services. blogs. I have a blog that went out today too about the song, a little more in depth on the metaphysics behind it. And I'm excited about just continuing the work. I'm in the process of kind of revamping some of my group program, my main group program. And this energy, what I'm calling energy magic content, is really about this like empowerment, energetic mastery, because I just feel like so many of us are reclaiming our power that's been tied up in these systems or relationships that have been kind of sucking us dry, and so we're getting our power back, and we're getting that's the energetics that I'm working with people on, since that's my background. And then of course the music, and I want to schedule some more musical appearances as well. But I have been really in like a total cocoon since I got back from Egypt, and that was right before Thanksgiving. I've really been like so but I know that that's like just because I need to reserve, like there's something happening here that I'm preparing for whatever this on the other side is going to be. So I'm just trusting that. And
yeah, I think you're emerging from the chrysalis as a new form. Obviously with the song coming out today, going live on this podcast, like it sounds like the wings are beginning to break through the detritus of the old chrysalis, and here comes this beautiful butterfly emerging. So, but ladies and gentlemen, go down to the show notes, check out the website. It'll be in the show notes. Go check out the song, leave some comments, reach out to her. She has all kinds of cool services. She's really fun to talk to, and she has an incredible way of sitting down with you and connecting with you that you'll feel on a heart level. So, ladies and gentlemen, reach out to her. Jenna, hang on briefly afterwards. I'm going to talk to you. But everybody else, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And I hope that you receive your downloads and that you listen to your heart and you become the most authentic version of yourself. That's all we got for today. Aloha.